4 of the programme, I've included an extra low-intensity interval session and changed the 2-kilometre swim to a 3-kilometre cycle. I've kept the functional exercise and the netball club the same as week 3. For week 4, there are now 2 low-intensity interval training sessions to be completed in the workout during the lunch hour. The first low-intensity training session starts with a warm-up of jogging on the spot into high knees and heel flicks, and then into stretches for the legs and arms and back. So the bicep, tricep, quads, hammies, gastrocnemius, tibialis anterior, and gluteus maximus, deltoid, and latissimus dorsi. The exercises involved with the session are squats, hip thrusters, sit-ups, lateral raises, tricep dips, and they're all to be completed with 20 seconds on, 20 seconds off for all 4 circuits. And each one is to be performed for 2 minutes. Then end the session off with a cool down of jogging on the spot gently, down into walking on the spot, and then to a stop. Then static stretching out the bicep, tricep, quads, hammies, gastrocnemius, tibialis anterior, glutes, deltoids, and latissimus dorsi. And that's the first full low-intensity interval session. I have selected these exercises. They are not too high intensity and do not require any equipment to perform, as my client will be doing this exercise session most likely in their office at work, where there will be no gym equipment on hand. The next low-intensity interval training session will be similar in that no gym equipment will be used. However, there will be different exercises to be performed. Keeping the warm-up and cool-down the same as the main session. Keep the warm-up and cool-down the same as the last session, and introducing different exercises to the main session being press-ups, skater jumps, knee-to-elbow raises, mountain climbers, and a 30-second plank. Each of these should again be completed for 20 seconds on, 20 seconds off for 2 minutes, and performed in 4 circuits. I have included low-intensity interval training sessions into the plan as they allow for my client to exercise while at work, which means it doesn't take any time out of their free time, which they have little of as discussed in the questionnaire before the plan. So being able to fit these sessions in is key as to helping keep my client engaged with their exercises, and not so when they're at home so they slack off because they're tired. It is also very useful to fit in as they allow for short sessions to keep fitness levels elevated instead of having to perform longer, fuller workouts. The second to last program of the week is a 3-kilometre cycle. I've chosen a cycle this time as to keep changing the activity to prevent tedium. It also allows for my client to try things they may not have done before, as they did not do any physical activity before the program. So a cycle in the country may be a new experience to them, and they might start to decide to do this in their own time. I've also increased the distance the exercise to being completed at to 60% of their max heart rate, which is in their aerobic training zone, so there should be more of a challenge to complete the whole way through, but will not be maximal exercise. This way they can perform effective exercise towards their goals without having to worry about their blood pressure. The session's warm-up will be a light cycle on the bike to raise the pulse before dynamic stretches of the glutes, quads, hamstrings, tibialis anterior, gastrocnemius, as they are all core muscles used in cycling. And the cool-down will consist of a light cycle to a halt to lower the heart rate, and then static stretching out the leg muscles that were warmed up to use them in aid of recovery. For the 5th week of the training program, I've kept the amount of activities the same as week 4. However, this week will last longer, so I'm increasing the time spent doing exercise. I've done this by adding 1.5 hours of squash on a Tuesday after work from 6 till 7:30. I've put it at this time to allow for an hour to get back from work for the session, as well as choosing squash, as they said they would be interested in trying to pick it up again, as they also used to play this at school. Squash is also a stop-start sport, and this will be useful for my client, as the breaks in between play will allow for them to regain their breath before going again, and will also mean they won't have to be working at a high intensity at a constant rate. This will be useful for their blood pressure not to reach too high and be dangerous for my client. The session will start off with a warm-up of jogging around the court twice and dynamic stretches of the bicep, tricep, deltoid, pectorals, hamstrings, quadriceps, gastrocnemius, tibialis anterior, as these will all be heavily involved with the actions performed in squash. The main session will start off by performing rallies for 20 minutes. This will take This will allow for the client to get used to playing the sport again and used to how hard and when to hit the ball. Then this will be followed by a game for 40 minutes, as this is how long they usually last for amateur players. After this, a cool down will take place, and this will start off with hitting the ball gently against the wall between the players in a non-competitive way as to lower the heart rate, and will be succeeded by static stretching of the bicep, tricep, pecs, deltoids, hammies, quads, gastrocnemius, and tibialis anterior, and this will be the end of the session. It will work on their aerobic and anaerobic energy systems, as it's a mixture of short bursts of energy along with a long period of work. The next change is with adding a yoga session to the week. This is because yoga is a great stress reliever, which is said they felt a lot of stress during their work. It will also help with increasing their fitness, as yoga is known to increase the health of the heart, and increasing the health of the heart will also improve their blood pressure, as the heart will be able to move blood more efficiently. It's also mood boosting and boasts a lot of mental benefits as well. The yoga session will consist of the tree pose, downwards dog, seated forward bend, a boat pose, locust pose, legs up the wall, and the corpse pose. This session will be gone through twice, and each stretch to be held for 3 to 5 minutes. The intensity of yoga sessions are low, and their heart rate shouldn't really reach into their aerobic training zone, so it is a relaxing, easygoing exercise. This session can be performed at home, as you just need space on the floor to stretch out, or it can be performed in a gym or at a club. Finally, I've changed the 3-kilometre cycle from week 3 into a 3-kilometre run for this week. I've done this as to change it up and prevent tedium, whether it remains the same intensity and provides the same intensity at 16 RPE and provides the same effect on the body as the cycling. Also, by keeping the same distance and the same work rate, it means the intensity of the exercise has stayed the same as well. The 3K one will start with a warm-up. This will be a series of dynamic stretches of the legs, being the gluteus maximus, the hamstrings, quadriceps, gastrocnemius, and tibialis anterior, as well as the rotator cuffs and the hips, and twisting the upper body. The main session will take place being a 3-kilometre run, and then the cool down will be a light jog following the run into a walk, then to a stop, and then static stretching out the same muscles that were warmed up. The session will be good for my client, as it will help lower their blood pressure from performing regular exercise, and also allows for more physical activity to be present in their life. Another bonus is continuous training improves cardiac hypertrophy, which will mean their heart is more efficient in moving blood around their body. This should help lower their blood pressure. The weekends, again, with Netball Club, which is the same as all the other weeks have been. And this is the end of week 5. Week 6 of the training program for my client 2 is the most intense week of all of them. This is because there are 4 different activities to be completed along with a testing day to see the final progress of the client. I've kept the functional exercise from the previous weeks running through all the weekdays. On the Tuesday, which is the first session of the week, and it will be performed during their lunch break in their office, there's another low-intensity interval training. This is because they're extremely good for people with high blood pressure to use for exercise, as to not risk themselves, but still be able to work out and get healthier. This will help my client lower their blood pressure and will focus on their aerobic energy system. The low-intensity interval session will start with jogging on the spot, into high knees, into heel flicks, and into stretches for the arms, legs, and back, which will include the triceps, biceps, gastrocnemius, hamstrings, quadriceps, tibialis anterior, deltoids, latissimus dorsi, and the gluteus maximus. The exercises involved with this session are hip thrusters, squats, lateral raises, sit-ups, and tricep dips, and these will be completed 2 minutes each in 4 circuits on 20 seconds on, 20 seconds off. Then we'll end with a cool down of jogging on the spot gently and slowly slowing it down until it's stopped. And then static stretching of the muscles warmed up will be completed. And that's the first low intensity session of the week. I've selected these exercises as they're not too high intensity and do not require any equipment to perform, as my client will still be in their office and won't have any gym equipment. Later on in the day after work, there is a squash session to be performed between 7 and 8:30 p.m. I've placed it at this time as my client will not have to rush home to get ready quickly and can have time at home beforehand, and ends at 8:30, so later on in the day, my client is able to get a good healthy amount of sleep that night. The squash session will start off with a pulse raiser of performing some light rallies against the wall as to get the blood flowing well around the body, and then get into the rhythm of playing the game. This will then be followed with dynamic stretching of the bicep, tricep, deltoid, pectorals, hamstrings, quadriceps, gastrocnemius, tibialis anterior. The main session will begin, which will be a drill for 20 minutes on performing forehand shots and a drill for 20 minutes performing backhand shots, both being attacking and defensive shots, and will be succeeded by 30 minutes of game time to play against someone. This will then be followed by a cool down of gradually lowering the intensity by rallying against the wall until they have calmed their heart rate and breathing rate down, and then static stretches of the muscles warmed up will be performed as to rid of any build-up of waste products in the muscles to aid recovery. This session focuses working on the aerobic energy system and will help with lowering their blood pressure. On the Wednesday, there is nothing as to help the muscles recover for the session on Thursday. On the Thursday, there will be 1 hour of yoga to be performed. Yoga will be performed for my client as it's known for calming and relaxing people, which is needed as they still experience stress at work. The yoga session will include the locust pose, the corpse pose, seated forward bend, downwards dog, boat pose, and the tree pose. This session will be run through twice, and each stretch is to be held for 3 to 5 minutes. The intensity of the yoga sessions are low, so that there shouldn't be any worries about their blood pressure. This session can be performed at home or anywhere with space to stretch out on the floor. The Friday will be a 3-kilometre cycle after work at 7 p.m. This is because the weekend is the next day, so it won't matter as much if they're feeling tired. The cycle session will start with dynamic stretching of the legs, so the hamstrings, quadriceps, gluteus maximus, gastrocnemius, tibialis anterior, and then will be followed by the 3-kilometre cycle at 15 RPE. So we'll work out in the aerobic training zone, and we'll train their aerobic energy system as well. After the 3-kilometre cycle, there will be a cool down of slowing the bike down for 2 minutes to keep a relaxed pace, and then static stretching of the hamstring, quadriceps, gluteus maximus, gastrocnemius, tibialis anterior, and this is because the cycle will help lower their blood pressure and keep regular levels of exercise. On the Saturday, it is the final testing day that will occur, and will give my client their final results. I will find their final results by using a blood pressure monitor to find their blood pressure and compare it to their blood pressure before we started the training program to see if there is an improvement and to see if it has lowered. And if they have stuck to the training program that I have set, their other goals will have been achieved, as well as joining the netball club on Sundays and performing the exercises will be increasing physical activity and joining the club. Finally, the netball club is on Sunday, which will remain the same throughout the weeks, and that is at the end of the 6-week training program for my client too.